Hey guys, my name is Nate Scott, and in this video I'm going to be covering a somewhat taboo topic, hooking up. And specifically, I'm going to be talking about things that you should and should not do when hooking up with a guy. So I think it's pretty natural and normal for a lot of guys to feel guilty and shameful for hooking up with guys. Part of that could be rooted in some shame or guilt for being gay. But with that being said, I think that hooking up can actually be a very positive experience and a great way to learn about what you enjoy sexually, as long as you're safe and careful about how you do it. So I hope that in this video I can provide some tips from my experience so that you can have enjoy having hookups while also being very safe and careful. So my first piece of advice is that if you haven't met this guy before, you should meet him somewhere public first before hooking up. From my experience, it can be extremely uncomfortable when you're meeting someone for the very first time for that occasion to be when you're going to be hooking up with them. Because you just never know if somebody is who they say they are and how recent their pictures are, or if the pictures that they sent you are actually them. And you never know what type of a vibe you're going to get with somebody, and you might decide that once you've met them that you're actually not interested in hooking up, and at that point it could be somewhat awkward to just walk away. That's why I think it's key to meet somewhere public first, whether it be like at a coffee shop or at a bar for a drink, or somewhere public where you can meet them, make sure that they actually are who they say they are, talk for just a little bit, and then you can decide whether or not you actually want to go back to their place or invite them over to your place to hook up. I know it can be tempting in the heat of the moment when you've been talking to a really attractive guy on Grindr or Tinder or Scruff or one of the apps, and you just want to go straight there and start hooking up. But trust me, from personal experience, it's much better to meet somewhere public, make sure that the person is who they say they are, that their pictures are real, and that you get a good vibe from them before you decide whether or not you want to be sexually intimate. All in all, you have to look out for your own personal safety, and meeting somewhere public first is a safe way to go, rather than just going straight over to a stranger's house who you've never even met before. My second piece of advice is don't have unprotected sex with someone who you're just hooking up with. This might seem obvious, but you would be really surprised by how many guys are willing to have unprotected sex with someone who they've met for the very first time. Even if somebody swears that they've been tested or that they're taking PrEP or something, you should still use protection because you just never know what they might have. Sometimes STD symptoms aren't obvious at first, so somebody might not think that they have something when in reality they do. So it's always better to be safe than sorry and use condoms and be safe rather than risk potentially catching something. My third piece of advice is to be upfront from the beginning about what you will and will not do sexually. So for example, if you know that you aren't comfortable bottoming for the first time that you're hooking up with somebody, make that known from the beginning so that you don't end up in an uncomfortable situation where you feel pressure to do something sexual that you're not quite comfortable with yet. It also helps to set the tone so that when you do meet up, you have an idea of what they're into and what they're looking to do so that you're both on the same page. My fourth piece of advice is that if you know that you're only looking for a hookup, then be upfront about that from the beginning with the guy. The reason why it's best to be upfront if you're strictly only looking for a hookup is because sometimes guys are actually looking for something more than that, and they can think that by hooking up that you're interested in them, and you don't want to lead anybody on by hooking up with them. So being upfront from the beginning of what you're looking for is going to be important. So all in all, guys, I don't think that you should feel any guilt or shame for wanting to be sexual and explore sex with other guys. It's normal and natural, and as long as you're safe and make some smart choices about how you hook up, then I think it can be something that you can really enjoy. So hopefully these tips helped as you're experimenting with hooking up And if you have any tips for guys about hookups, feel free to leave those in the comments, and like this video if you found it useful.